Marcel, and welcome to me screaming into the void, mostly about books. So we are reaching September for 2024, and I am doing 2 readathons that is going to impact my TBR for September 2024. Now, the 2 readathons I'm going to do is the Romance Readathon by Maggie's Books and Things, and Shortyseptember by Storytime. I'm just going to talk a little bit about Romance Readathon first, because I'm going to create a completely other video talking about that. But the reason why I wanted to do that readathon is because I am not really a reader of romance, and I wanted to do a project that I was planning to do before I even knew about the readathon, where I would challenge myself to read more romance and try to understand the romance genre. And I think that is important because romance is the biggest book genre in regard to how many books sold, how much it's talked about on social media and everything like that. So when a genre becomes such a huge phenomenon, that's a hard word for me, I'm so sorry. I think it is important for us to be able to talk about the genre in more than just, oh, I love it or I hate it. It is about trying to understand how our community works and functions. So I'm not doing the project to sort of talk down on romance. I'm trying to understand romance as someone who doesn't really enjoy romance. And by luck, hopefully, I don't know if it's a good thing or not, I found Maggie Books and Things, who is then doing a romance readathon inspired by Phantom of the Opera. And I thought that, oh, this can be a brilliant way of having an environment where a lot of people are talking about romance, reading romance, enjoying romance, when the point of the project was to understand the romance genre. So I am going to combine those two in a way. Now, the way I'm going to do it, and I'm going to go into much more details in the separate video that I'm going to do, which is more about the romance project rather than the readathon, is that I'm going to read a representation of the different romance subgroups, in addition to picking a random number of books from the lists of best romances out there that I've generated, in addition to also reading some of the romance books on my physical TBR. So it's going to be a combination of that. Now, the romance readathon that Maggie's Books and Things have created is a team-based readathon. So we do get points per page, and we get points to hit certain tropes, and then the team with most points at the end win. That's how usually these types of readathons are. So I've picked a team not knowing which books I'm going to read and so that could be fun. So I have no idea if I have sort of hit the mark with the team I've picked or not, but I've picked Team Raoul, and the 2 tropes that are especially connected to that is friends to lovers and second chances. And the reason why I picked Team Raoul is it was one of the smallest ones. I like Raoul as a character. I do enjoy those 2 tropes, but who knows how that's going to end up. It's going to be a journey, and you are welcome to join me on that journey if you want. That's also why I'm going to do another video talking more about what books I'm going to read for that one. So I think we can just moving on to the second readathon I'm going to do now in September, and that is Shortyseptember. I did Shortyseptember last year. Shortyseptember is created by Pastori. I had very fun doing it last year, in addition to almost losing my mind, because Shortyseptember is a readathon that focuses on shorter stories, usually books with less than 200 pages. Last time I wanted to challenge myself to read one book each day, which I managed, but I almost lost my mind having to do that. So I am not going to do that. Shortyseptember usually have 12 different prompts, and I am probably only going to do those prompts for Shortyseptember this time, so I can actually enjoy this more than just challenge myself into losing my mind. Now, my printer is only in black and white, but they have created this year. Last year it was actually a zine, and I'm sorry that I haven't saved that so I could show you guys. But they've created different prompts based on tarot cards, inspired by tarot cards. So we do have, as you also will probably see, inspired by tarot cards, but also by shorts. That was a theme last time as well, because of course it's Shortyseptember. So I have huge chunks of my shorter books there, and hopefully I have enough books that we can fill these prompts. I have not looked at the prompts yet. I haven't watched the video where they're presenting the prompts, because I wanted to just print it out and then have a reaction here for them. So for the first prompt that you see here, you have micro Taylor Swift shorts, and that prompt is read a poetry book or read a book with a breakout in it. So Taylor Swift, famously known as to write about her breakup songs, even though someone has actually stated that she doesn't actually write that many books about, she doesn't really write that many songs about breakups, but those are the ones that are most known in that sense. So just give me 2 seconds and I'll find a for the prompt, micro Taylor Swift the shorts, where I'm going to read poetry or a poetry book. I chose Sulfisa and her poetry books. This is a book series that is published in Norway, with a series of Norwegian translations of ancient Greek, ancient Roman literature. So I have several of these, and find it that actually it's a nice translations. I don't know ancient Greek, so I don't know how how good of a translation it is, but I do enjoy the translations. I think it's a good way. And Sulpicia is born 40 BC, is probably the only female poet from the Roman antique who's saved, who we have text from that are more than just fragments. So this is, and it's a book, a poetry book about love and desire. I'm just reading about here on the back about after Augustus became emperor in the Roman Empire, he put into place a very strict set of moral codes that limited the people's possibility to live out their love life as they themselves wanted. And therefore, the idea of love and the love life and desire became a theme in a lot of poetries around this time. So that's going to be my pick for the micro shorts, and finally having a reason to read this book, because it's been on my shelf. I sadly don't read a lot of poetry unless prompted. So unless I actually am going to read it for something, I don't read a lot of poetry, and I'm a bit sort of torn if that's okay, because not everyone is going to read everything, or if there is things that I'm of course going to miss out on, not having the knowledge to properly enjoy poetry on some level. But the antiques very often are fun to do either way. This is for the next prompt, and I absolutely recommend that you go to Pastori Time's video and see these in color, because they were so pretty. But my printer is sadly on only black and white. So for paper bag shorts, buy a book and read it. Bonus points for getting a paper bag. So good to know. I now have permission to go out and buy a book and read it. It has to, of course, be a short book, because it needs to be less than 200 pages. But I'll going to do a video at some point about how I'm doing, probably the wrap up. So I'll show you what I ended up buying. And this one is New Metal Bermuda shorts. And for that one, read a book that mixes genres. A book that mixes genres. That is not necessarily the easiest one to know what would actually be considered mixing a genre, especially when I haven't read any of them. And I'm just looking very quickly on my possibilities, and I think I might actually go for this one, because this is a novelization of the anime and manga Spy Family. And in that sense, it does actually sort of mix genres, because it is a novelization that is inspired by the manga and the anime. And yes, I know that technically it is an inspiration of another medium, not necessarily a mixed genre. But on the other hand, this is a mixture of the whole Spy Family is he's a spy, she's an assassin, and she is a child that can read minds. And he is spying in a country, And to do that, he needs a child and a fake mother. The fake mother thinks that he is her biological child, but to get into a certain school, she needs a stepmother, and she knows everything about everything. So it is, in that sense, also a mixed genre, in the sense that it mixes spy tropes, it mixes sort of the spy genre, it mixes the family genre. It's very, very much a humoristic look at a found family. So you can sort of see that. I absolutely think that this would count as mixed genre. The funny spy family with a found family. Then we have Jorts, which is Jean Shorts, and that one is read something from the 70s or 80s, and that is interesting because I don't really know when these books were published. So it's difficult to really very quickly. Oh, or it's just the first book I picked up. The Lurking Fair and Other Stories by H.P. Lovecraft. And this book was copyright by Random House in 1971. So the shorter stories are I don't know if this actually then is good enough, because of course the shorter stories are from the 20s, 30s or 40s. So I don't know if that would then sort of be kind of a cheat. I'm going to see if with some of the other books here, before I sort of take that as sort of, well, it is technically, so considering that the stories were written before the 70s, I'm then going to choose another book, and that is Ursula K. Le Guin, Planet of Exile, and that one was actually published originally in 1972. So I think that's more in what the prompt wants us to pick. That it's something that is sort of originally published in it. This book, Ursula Le Guin is sort of one of the huge science fiction authors of our time. They were the Fairborn. The world in which they had lived for generations was not their home, and little by little, year by year, their culture was fading, their wisdom was dwindling, and they themselves were dying. If ever a ship soared down from the stars, would the men who stepped from it know them to be human? So Ursula Le Guin's father was an anthropologist, and she does use a lot of the ideas behind anthropology and a lot of different cultures in her writings. And the next prompt we have is zip off trousers. And that prompt is read a book with a title that could be shorter. And this one can of course be read in two different ways. One is that you have a book title that is super long, that absolutely could be shorter. But on the other hand, it could also be that it is a book that just has a long title. And I'm trying to see, and that it's physically, you sort of think that, oh, if it just had called it something else, it would be much better. And of course, that's sort of difficult to know without actually having read it. So I have two possibilities of books with long titles. I don't really have that many long titles on the books I have present, but I have Flow My Tears, The Policeman Said, and what is that? Because I have this as in a Norwegian. Smith of Wootton Major is the English title. But as you sort of see, the Norwegian title is Volund Smed. Smed means smith, from Big Skauby. So here they have taken a rather short title with this Smith of Wootton Major, and given both him a first name in addition to his occupation, and Store Skauby, can't they just call it Skauby? This is absolutely a too long title, and could have been much shorter, is my argument there. Then we have for the next prompt, Summer Cookout Shorts. And this prompt is read a book and eat or cook something to go with it. So this I'm interpreting as just a wild card. Pick anything. Pick what you want to do, read. And I think what I want to read, if I can read, sort of just pick anything, is probably Mrs. Dalloway. And the reason I wanted to pick this is just that I've had it on my shelf for forever. And it's just one of those books that you feel that you should have read a long time ago. And Mrs. Dalloway is a very experimental book. It is about Dalloway, who is giving her party, and her thoughts and sensations on that one day, and the interior monologue of others whose lives are interwoven with her gradually revealed the characters of the central protagonists. So this is going to be, considering it's a party, it will just fit with cooking and eating something while reading it. Then we have Supermarket 2-pack Shorts bundle. And that prompt is read a non-fiction book that ties in with another of your shorties. So this is a 2-for-1. So I need to read a non-fiction book that fits in with the fiction book that I have. And I need to just check what I do have of non-fiction books that can fit. So I found a brilliant book, and that is Discourse on Colonialism by Aimé Césaire. And I want to link this one up to, is it that one? Yes. This is, of course, about colonialism. How do we talk about colonialism? How do we talk about how cultures meet in situations that is, in general, just different ways of understanding the meeting between different cultures, set in a connection of the European white and whiteism and the non-white cultures. And I wanted to pair that up with this one. This is a book by César Aira, and I don't know the English translation. I'll put it up on the screen. And this is a book about a German painter who travels around Argentina and what happens in the meeting between this German painter and Argentinian culture. And how that and they influence one another. So, of course, Argentina wasn't colonized by Germany, and a lot of Germans did travel to Argentina for various reasons throughout time. But it's still going to be interesting to pair these two together in reading about how cultures meet in that sense. For the next prompt, I have leopard print shorts, and this one is read a book you've seen someone reading in the wild. Can be public or online. So read a book that you've seen others read, and I think for that one it needs to be Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Coraline is about a girl called Coraline who is given leeway, who travels into another dimension and is then caught in that other dimension, and then has to sort of figure out, does she want to stay in this other dimension or does she want to go home? And this is a very popular book, and I've seen several people read it, and now I'm going to have a reason to read it. Then we have half and half shorts. So we have this prompt last year as well, if I remember correctly, and it's read a book, then watch the movie. And for this one, it's going to be Daphne du Maurier, The Birds and Other Stories. I've seen The Birds. I'm probably now going to just see it again, watch it again. Love Hitchcock. And reading The Birds and reading the story that inspired it will hopefully give me a better understanding of the story and the narrative. Because Hitchcock did go in, so I could just shortly, for those who haven't watched The Birds by Hitchcock, it's a book about a town where there are a lot of birds that are coming. And when I mean a lot of birds are coming to this town, I mean a lot of birds are coming to this town. And I've read Daphne du Maurier. I don't like Rebecca, and I could make an entire video of why I don't like Rebecca. But I do love so many of her other works, so I think that's going to be a good pick. For the next prompt, we have Rockstar Shorts, and the prompt is read a book and pair it with a song or an album. This is interesting. I don't really know what that would be in that sense. It could be just picking a book and then finding out what album could be a nice one to have. I am going to go for this one. This book is called The Homecoming by Louise M. Gauche. It's about a woman who meets her former lover, former boyfriend in a sense. And what happens? This book could fit very well with the romance readathon, which is partly why I'm probably going to read it. But also this book, or Louise M. Gauche, is Gauche. Why am I saying her name so weird? This is a book with a lot of Christian undertones. So it could be fun to just pair it up with some Christian music. And that's, I'm not really a music person. That's sort of the general idea. Let's read Homecoming while listening to gospel. Oh, that's going to be weird. It's going to be fun. It's actually going to be interesting because I've read several of sort of this type of book before, where you sort of have a romance book but with a Christian undertone, and then they sort of, some have that Christian undertone very front and center, some where you sort of feel it becomes overwhelming, it's not about the story anymore, and some where they sort of just tag it on, where like, why is this here? This has nothing to do with anything. So reading it with a very clear Christian music, it can be interesting to then see how that actually pairs up with this type of book. Then we have Ripped Shorts, and Ripped Shorts is read a mystery or slasher. I'm going to go here on the back, and I'm going to pick Poirot Investigates. I always have some Agatha Christie available. Poirot is her most famous detective, and this is actually 3 short stories: The Mystery of Hunter Lodge, The Kidnapped Prime Minister, and The Case of the Missing Will. So it's a very quick, easy read. So it's almost sad that okay, so at least one of them does have a murder involved. The Mystery of the Hunter Lodge. In a shooting box on the bleak Derbyshire moors, a man is killed. So it is nice to sort of know that there is a murder, or otherwise it would sort of have been a bit lost with the whole ripped one. But then we have the last prompt, which is shorts with pockets. Read a book with something on the cover that could fit in a pocket. So this is interesting because then we have to look at, what do we have here? We have the desert, that does not fit. We have a man with a horse and a sword and a rope and tools, and none of that fits in a pocket. How can you have so much on the cover and nothing fits in a pocket? We do have a feather that could fit in a pocket. We have the mystic masseuse wife. She has a lot of jewelry that probably could fit in a pocket, but this one is a companion piece with V.S. Naples' book, The Mystic Masseuse. So I'm not going to pick this one since it didn't fit any of the other prompts. A Ring on Fire. more people on mountain cliffs, more men and horses. I have a lot of men and horses and mountains on my books covers, clearly. Man and dragon. Okay, we're just going to go for the feather. There was very little in there was very little pockets or things that I could put in a pocket. This is a story about, this is Wings by Yi-sang. Yi-sang is a Korean author, and one of the Korean authors that was Korean before they were divided. So that can be interesting to read. Something sort of before the North-South divide. And it's a book about 3 different relationships, love relationships, and about prostitution, being unfaithful, the psychological power dynamic. And you can absolutely fit Wings into your pockets. So, with the exception of going to buy a book and put it in a paper bag, that's the books I'm going to read for Shortyseptember. Again, I'm going to create an entire video about the romance project, and thank you for listening to me screaming.